Hello and welcome to the AI Infra Forum. I'm Stephen Foskett, organizer of the Tech Field Day events series, part of the Futurum Group. Recently, Futurum and Kearney conducted a survey of CEOs asking them what their opinions were about AI and how it was transforming their businesses. My colleague Dion Hinchcliffe put together a series of takeaways for this for his research and consulting clients. And I thought I would share some of his feedback as well as some of mine with you here at the AI Infra Forum. Now, I am very familiar with this space, having hosted a podcast, Utilizing Tech, which focuses on AI for 8 seasons now, as well as, of course, covering AI for the AI Field Day events for gestaltit.com, as well as our sister site, TechStrong AI. And in that, I've noticed a disconnect between CEOs and the executives generally and the real state of affairs with AI. And this is no surprise because, frankly, that's where we all are these days. We are all trying to figure out how AI affects us, how we can best benefit from it, and how we can avoid some of the pitfalls. Let's dive into some of the results from this survey and learn a little bit more about how CEOs are seeing AI. As I mentioned, this was perhaps the largest survey of CEOs and their opinions on AI. And the data was collected very recently, November through January. So this is fresh stuff. These CEOs gave us a lot of information on how they're seeing AI transform their businesses and how well prepared they feel for this transformation. And frankly, it's not all good news. Let's dive in a little bit deeper. As I'm talking, you'll notice that there are some recurring themes to this data. First off, AI really needs to be a business strategy. This is not something that companies are adopting as just another IT technique. This is something that's really transformative to the overall business. Another thing that we're seeing is a great deal of fear among CEOs that AI is going to disrupt them and their businesses before they're able to conquer it and use it productively. And then finally, we've seen that there's a lot of movement among companies who are willing to set a vision, to act decisively, to bring AI to market, but do it smartly. That's probably the most important takeaway from this data overall. Now, Futurum has done a lot of research on the AI market, and like many, we believe that AI is really going to inject a lot of money into the global economy. In fact, the estimates are up to $20 trillion by 2030. How is this going to happen? Well, the answer is quite simply that AI is an accelerator for people. It gives us superpowers. Every dollar spent on AI can deliver up to $5 in business value if it's used properly. 78% of the CEOs in our survey believe this. They believe that AI is a competitive advantage for them if only they can be ready to accept it. And this is one of the big problems because on the one hand, 78% say that it's going to be transformative, yet only 25% feel ready for that transformation. This is a real problem. First off, we should note as well that AI isn't just a technology. AI is about evolving decision-making, enabling business. And as I said, it's about making you a superhero, giving you superpowers to think, to process data, and to come up with actionable insights, if only we can do that. So among the people in the survey, we categorized them based on whether they're doing AI right in having the positive impacts in their own minds, or whether AI projects really aren't delivering the goods. And what we found was that there are indeed some companies that are doing some really tremendous things with AI. Among the respondents, for example, there was a bank that reported that they cut fraud by 60% using AI-based risk models. There was a manufacturer who reduced downtime by 40% with predictive AI-driven maintenance, and an insurer who was able to reduce customer care costs by $2 million a year in just weeks of implementing an AI-based solution. It's already delivering real gains to these companies. But the problem is that not every company reported that they're ready to adopt AI. In fact, Many of those who think that they're ready really aren't. 78% of the CEOs in our survey claimed that they were confident in AI, but only 19% said that they're actually using it for real transformative business applications. This overconfidence was actually shown throughout the survey. Essentially, CEOs believe that they're ready, they believe that they know what the technology is for, and yet they're not actually getting the value out of it that they want. And of course, they're not actually able to bring that into the market in a transformative way. What separates the successful ones from the unsuccessful ones? Well, first off, micromanagement is the key hallmark of the unsuccessful AI companies. Among those who have struggled to find success so far bringing AI to market, 92% of those CEOs said that they were very, very involved in all of the decisions around AI. On the flip side, among the companies that were successful, only 59% of the CEOs said that they were involved in making these day-to-day technology and business strategy decisions. This is really key. CEOs need to lead with vision, but frankly, they need to empower their teams at all levels throughout the business in order to actually make this successful. It cannot be something that a CEO is just driving forward on his own. Another challenge that we uncovered in this data set is that there's a real blind spot around return on investment. In other words, they're not measuring the success of these projects in an appropriate way. 48% of the companies that said that they were very successful with AI were measuring ROI from those projects, which is great, but is still only half of them. And if you contrast this to the underperformers, well, only 17% said that they were measuring ROI of their AI projects. This suggests that they're sort of running forward without really considering what it is that they're doing. And this is a pretty high cost thing to be doing. As we know, AI can be very challenging and costly to deploy. And if you're not measuring the success of the project, then how do you know if it's worth that money? What we have to do as an industry is we have to figure out ways of setting a vision, setting metrics, measuring those metrics, and reporting back on whether those metrics are being achieved through what we're doing, and then moving quickly to change our approach in order to deliver better business value. Another challenge that we've uncovered in this report is short-term thinking instead of long-term strategy. A lot of people are very fearful of AI. They see this as a disruptive technology that's disrupting their industry, and they're rushing forward to try to deploy something, anything right now. 95% of the CEOs in our survey said that they were really focused on these quick wins. Well, that's a problem because we find that if you're focused on quick wins, it's not likely that you're going to deliver the kind of transformative business outcome that you really ought to be looking for. If you have a strategy for AI, it's important to balance those two conflicting priorities. You want to make sure that you're getting quick wins, that you're measuring those wins, that you're able to pivot and move quickly, but not at the expense of having a future strategy for how to use AI. Another big challenge, and perhaps this is why so many CEOs are personally micromanaging and driving AI themselves, is that there's a real talent acquisition crisis out there. 57% of the survey CEOs said that they don't have enough AI expertise in their firms, and they reported that it's very challenging to find these people. Higher performing CEOs, those who are having some success with AI, are not just focused on recruiting one or two key people for AI. What they're trying to do is they're trying to build a base of AI literacy throughout their entire organization at all levels. This is smart because this is a technology that's going to affect literally everyone throughout the business. The best firms, the best successful firms in our report are both upskilling internal resources, hiring new ones, and partnering with companies that really are able to deliver insights that they may not have internally. This is another key factor. partnering with the right companies, finding the right companies that can help you build the infrastructure, build the applications, and really deliver the goods for customers. Another strategy that we see among some of the more successful CEOs out there in terms of AI is that they're using a fast follower approach. In other words, they're waiting, they're learning, and then they're moving quickly to adapt what works as opposed to just blindly charging forward with all sorts of AI-based initiatives. Rushed initiatives often fail. We found that 58% of the companies who were reporting less satisfactory AI rollouts were aggressively pursuing AI strategies instead of waiting and learning and pursuing the right AI moves. Steady always beats fast, and that's especially true when it comes to AI. Now, another thing that we uncovered in this is, as I said at the top, CEOs really ought not to be trying to drive these projects forward themselves. In fact, of the ones that we surveyed, the CEOs who are leading the charge themselves actually saw much lower success rates than CEOs who focused instead on vision and empowering other people within the organization. Another aspect that we saw was flattening the hierarchy a bit. In other words, rather than having this person report to that person, to that person, to that person, having a much more frank discussion between C-level leadership and the implementers about how to put AI into practice. That seems to be a technique that works well, and I think it jibes with this challenge of finding good AI talent and figuring out the right way to implement this technology. Now, another challenge we uncovered is no surprise to those of us who have been in the AI industry, and that's that there's a lot of fear out there. And we found that the more fear there was, the more likelihood it was that these AI projects were not going to succeed. In fact, 41% of the CEOs in our survey were not really addressing the underlying fear among their employees that AI would lead to job cuts and that AI would transform their workflows in a negative way. The best leaders, the more successful ones, treated AI not as a job killer or a way to replace people, but a way to augment people. As I said earlier, a way to give you superpowers and a way to allow your employees to do things they never could have done before. That's where that 5x multiple of return on investment comes from AI. When you can, instead of getting rid of a bunch of people, you can instead transform your organization and deliver a lot more for your customers. We also have to think about data. Now, many of us are aware of previous projects in IT that were undermined by a lack of good data. Well, that's certainly the case with AI. 60% of the respondents of failed AI projects said that bad data infrastructure was the root of their problem. In many cases, this could be the infrastructure itself. Effectively, the storage systems that they had, the database systems that they had, were just incompatible with this modern AI world. Another aspect of it is the data, the quality of the data itself. In other words, how well is it described? How well is it organized? How well is it structured? If you don't have that, if you're just feeding a lot of data into the monster, well, the monster's not going to give you good results. AI's success depends on modernizing data infrastructure, data services, data applications, and integrating all of this into a unified stack. That's one area where I think a lot of these partner firms can be of great service because there are a lot of new products and new technologies out there that do a remarkable job at organizing, collecting, and presenting data to AI applications. And that's an opportunity I think people should take. Try to find the right tool for the job and try to focus on the data. Another consideration that people have is this whole question of ethics and governance. Essentially, as many people are warning us in social media, in the news, and just generally around out there in the world, AI is not always have its hands clean when it comes to the data sources that are collected and the data that it's presenting. And in fact, that's a real risk for businesses. We found that 80% of the CEOs in our survey were very worried about bias and the ethics of using customer data in this way. but only half of them had a governance framework in place. Now, unsurprisingly, the ones that did tended to be in industries where, with a history of governance, like finance and healthcare, but other industries were seriously lagging in this. This is another thing that needs to be addressed. You simply cannot build a transformative data application like AI unless you have ethical guidelines in place about how you're going to collect data, how you're going to use data, and what data is going to be exposed on the front end. Another thing that we found was that some CEOs are already leveraging data in their own decision making. In fact, we found that the CEOs that are doing this, that are leveraging AI as a way to augment their own abilities to process data and make decisions, are seeing faster response times and better quality of the decisions that they're making. This is a really key insight for the CEOs themselves because it shows that they can leverage this technology. And once they see that they can, then it's very likely that they're going to want to leverage it further. What comes next for AI? Well, this was pretty obvious in the survey, as well as in many of the conversations that we're having with customers and with companies out there that are developing AI solutions, and that is agentic AI. Essentially, most of the AI that we're familiar with is generative in that it takes language and either processes that, ingests that, or produces content out of language. But what if those AIs were able to think about things and process data and actually take action on their own? That's the idea behind agentic AI. And generally speaking, agentic AI is not about having a monolith that basically is an AI machine, your HAL 9000. Instead, what it is a collection of smaller agents that each perform independent tasks. We're seeing a lot of companies developing agentic AI frameworks and applications, as well as the AI agents themselves as sort of a next generation robotic process automation or business process management solution. And this, I think, is going to be a whole new world of applications. In fact, you may hear about more of these applications at this AI Infra Forum. CEOs need to be prepared for agentic AI because this is one of those things I think that makes sense, that we're going to have AI agents making decisions for us. So to sum up, we really have to think of AI not as an IT project, but as a business model revolution. CEOs should set the vision, they should set the tone, and they should decide what they're going to do. And then they should really focus their entire organization on developing and rolling out advanced AI applications. They also need to think about how AI can transform business processes, not how AI can be grafted into existing processes. Now, one more thing, as I mentioned earlier, to think about is that different industries are doing AI in different ways. And we're finding in this survey that finance, healthcare, manufacturing, retail all have really key use cases for AI. Many of the other industries, though, are still trying to figure out exactly what AI is going to do for them. And I think that that's actually a smart move for them. Think about the ways that this technology can improve the business instead of just trying to roll out another chatbot or generative AI, large language model, wherever you can plug it in. Think about what it can do for you. So here's my takeaways from this survey. Number one, CEOs need to establish a vision and they need to push for AI to be a transformative part of their business. But they can't be the ones that are micromanaging it and leading it. They have to establish that throughout the organization, get people on board, and then step out of the way and let the techies and the data scientists and the business partners come up with the right solutions that help to improve customer outcomes. When you're creating AI pilot projects, you need to have metrics and measurable ROI, and you need to quickly cull any underperforming applications and move on with something else. AI is moving quickly, and it's not worth it pouring more and more money into something that's not delivering the goods. Another thing that companies need to do is, frankly, buy new stuff. You need to modernize the infrastructure that's supporting your data. You need to make sure that whatever you're using is going to be able to be integrated with advanced AI applications. And you need to make sure that it's scalable and high performing enough that it's going to be able to handle the volume of data that your industry is going to generate. Because frankly, we found that AI tends to increase the amount of data that's retained and processed because it can, because it's able to process more data. It does process more data, and customers collect more data. Next, communicate internally and externally about your AI initiatives. Make sure that everybody's on board. Make sure that everybody understands that you understand what AI is all about and how you're going to use it. And set firm ethical guidelines. Make sure that everybody understands what boundaries you won't cross, what you won't do, what data you won't collect, because that's going to be something that's going to come back and haunt you if you don't. I hope you enjoyed my takeaways from this survey. If you'd like to read it yourself, you can go to the URL here or just scan this QR code. And after a quick registration, you can download the entire report and draw your own conclusions, again, based on the largest survey of CEO insights about AI. Thanks for allowing me to take the time here at the AI Infra Forum. I especially want to thank Dion Hinchcliffe, who processed a lot of this data and gave me a lot of these insights, really helped me to understand what this report was all about and what the data says to us. If you'd like to talk to folks like Dion, please do contact the Futurum Group. I know that they would love to hear from you. And if you're interested in more of the infrastructure side of things, check out the Tech Field Day events. We recently had MemVerge present at our AI Field Day, and that video is online now. Just search YouTube for MemVerge at AI Field Day, and you can learn a lot more about that. Plus, search for other companies as well, because we've had many different companies present on AI, networking, security, mobility, all sorts of great topics. Thank you for giving me your time, and can't wait to see what comes next here at the AI Infra Forum.